Welcome back, men. Here we are. Epic Men's Leadership. Me, my good friend and partner, and helping lead the men in this men's group on Mondays. It's exciting to have you here, but we'd like to continue to see you. Join us live, or if you're watching the replay, let us know. But today is a great day, and we're ready to read a little bit. Eric's going to commentate, or excuse me, Eric's going to read and commentate, and I'll commentate, take some notes, and commentate as well on what Eric's reading. So, Eric, take it away, brother. If you want to show us the book again, the page we're on, and all that, get us caught up. That'd be great.
The Winding Road to Excellence by G.T. Toby Stansel. So, page I'm on is page 62, and talking about the test of personal and professional maturity. Starting here in the paragraph, I absolutely value the lessons that people like Frank Bellavia and Dick Holdridge taught me, but I realized that I needed to depend upon myself to generate the intrinsic motivation required to make positive change a repetitive occurrence in my life. To do so inherently means that I need to push myself harder. I could not simply walk away at no. I learned the hard way that many times the things we want to do the least are the things we ought to do the most. As I advanced to broader business and community leadership roles, my growing awareness and adoption of proven leadership principles was strongly reinforced when I read Fail-Safe Leadership by Linda L. Martin and David G. Mutchler, which argues that what long existed as the quintessential example of leadership, the charismatic leader, is bankrupt. Many times, charismatic leaders are great performers. It's costume leadership, theatrical drama, the sort that today seems to be regularly delivered by some of our politicians. In his book, Good to Great, Jim Collins promoted the idea that charisma is more of a liability than an asset when it comes to leadership. I dub it the curse of charisma. If you don't achieve the desired end result, you can look the part, but you are not a real leader. Real leaders achieve the desired result the right way. They complete the mission. Fail-safe leadership promotes the premise that the only difference between a great performer and a great leader is two words. Great performers set goals and achieve results. Great leaders, set goals and achieve results through others. That last point found in fail-safe leadership, that goals are realized by results through others, is a key point about maturity in a leader. David Wilkins, former U.S. ambassador to Canada and the former chair of Clemson University's Board of Trustees, captured this idea best when he modified John Maxwell's oft-quoted line by saying, "If you think you're leading and nobody's following, you're just taking a walk." Authentic leaders are teachers and coaches. When thinking about their impact in the organization and in the personal and professional lives of those in their orbit, authentic leaders ask, did I tell you something, show you something, give you something, or teach you something that you could easily put into practice and that, when you did, made your life better? When leaders understand that the measure of their influence as a leader is not gauged by their success, but by the successes of those around them, they realize why Jackie Robinson's epitaph reads, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on others' lives." Excuse me, he has long words in here that sometimes I don't know how to say it.
No, it's good. Eric, I want to key on something. I've got 2 bullet points already
Yeah.
here, profound statements. But one of them I would like to discuss with you. What you want to do the least, you need to do the most. So let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on that?
It's true. Probably for me, it's Probably talking on the phone, calling people, talking on the phone.
Yeah.
That's something I don't enjoy doing. And especially if it's a client that might be, I don't know, confrontational, or if I know there's some potential for conflict, it's difficult for me to talk and like pick up the phone and just call them and talk to them.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to none of us really like to do certain things, but I think probably it's a storm. It represents a storm to us, right? What we don't want to do is a storm, whether
Yeah.
it's some sort of discipline of some sort, or whether it's, in your case, a disgruntled client potentially, or maybe it's even just conversations with team members, right? On a constant basis, consistency of that. Like, what want to do the least is probably what we need to do the most, because
Yeah.
the other stuff comes easy to us, right? Otherwise, we like to do things that we're good at. All of us do. So
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that. I think the things that I don't like to do the most is the things that I'm not confident in.
yep, I would agree. I'm the same way, man. I am. A lot of things I have to just push through and know that through the process of repetition, I am going to get I'm going to get more confident through the process, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Next one, which is really good, by the way. It's a good nugget. So I think even figuring out what you don't want to do is a good list to look at. 2 or 3 things for all of us. So we're like, man, for me, you want to know one thing that I started doing it was like, gosh, dang, oh, it was so painful, is writing up written agreements and contracts. Goodness.
Really.
I mean, just brutal for me at times. Just because it's like, man, can't we just talk about this? I didn't say that I didn't. I do believe it's necessary, but I just didn't want to have to be the one writing it. But so I like want to record it and let someone else write it, record what we say and talk about. Yeah, but it's like you have to write it to get good at understanding what contracts are too. So it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my goodness. And I needed to do it the most. The more I did it, the more I did it, the more confident I became in it. So, agreements, contracts, written understandings, notice of understanding. So we're all on the same page is super valuable. And I realize that the more I read the Bible, the more I realize that's what that is. God's trying to help us have an understanding with him. And so he wrote it out for us so we can refer to it over and over again, right? So it is really fascinating that way, but good to great, baby. Results equals to complete the mission. Leaders and performers are not talkers. They're guys who set targets and get the results, right? Success of followers is the greatest success. It is true. There are a lot of hard working son of a guns that will outwork you. And, I like to think that I'm a hard working son of a gun, but we can plateau with as much as we hustle, bustle, bustle, but if we don't learn to become leaders, we will, guaranteed, we will plateau. There will be a ceiling. There's only 24 hours in a day. We're one person. So we have to recognize that as men too. We must learn leadership skills, which comes from relationship skills. It does. And then we start gauging our abilities based on what our people do instead of what we do. That's the level of leadership then. If we can help people succeed, then we can say, okay, I might be getting somewhere in my leadership skills now. I might be finally getting results. What do you
That's
think better?
definitely a check for me. It's like, okay, I can tend to be like, well, why can't everybody else just be that, have the skills that I do, and then forget that it took me 5 years or 10 years to get to this place, and they're just starting. and thinking about my effectiveness as a leader is not my skill level, but how skilled I am at leading, at helping them succeed.
Yeah.
That's a mental shift. Even it's like, yeah, I might be good at what I do, but technical skills of what I do, what it is that, for example, my business does certain things, and I might be good at doing those things, but am I able to communicate that?
Yeah. And I would say this is really cool, myself included, and others that I've worked with to help develop companies. I would say that a really good entrepreneur can build a six-figure business, but to become a leader then can build multi-million-dollar businesses on up to billion-dollar businesses. But a good leader, or a great entrepreneur, or what they're calling a great performer, can build a six-figure business. I think beyond that, though, and maybe even $1 million, maybe. I mean, you'd be pushing pretty good, but they potentially could. But again, you get past into the multi-millions and the 10 million, 100 million, you've got to have a team. You've got to have more people working with you. So you've got to be able to lead and duplicate and scale. That's where then relationship skills is a must.
Yep, I'm starting to see it now.
So it starts with our wives. Those same skills we're using to connect with our wives, men, and successfully connect with our wives is what we can use then to successfully connect with others, inspire, motivate. It's really cool. And then our children too as well. Our children, are they getting fruit? Are they getting results? Are we able to lead them successfully to their dreams? There's the fruit of whether or not we are leaders or not. It's part of the process. So good stuff, man.
It's really good.
Carry on, carry on.
Okay, I was just looking where I was. I think it's right here. Jim Collins spoke to this principle. Again, the principle was life is not important except in the impact it has on others' lives. Jim Collins spoke on this principle by discussing how leaders multiply themselves through others. That mission is not accomplished by making people into carbon copies of yourself, but by passing on principles, practices, and approaches that improve others' lives. They wear the mantle of leadership lightly and allow their subjects the freedom they need to make their own decisions within limits. The best leaders also allow their subordinates to fail in a supportive environment so that they can learn from their experiences, but they also encourage their team to take risks that can lead to results. All meaningful and lasting change starts first on the inside and works its way out. I don't know who said this, but I certainly ascribe to this philosophy. Once you begin to believe in yourself, you become intrinsically motivated. You don't need somebody to push you. You propel yourself forward by second nature, realizing that the world is filled with opportunities, fascinating ideas, and interesting experiences. When you're unafraid of failure within limits, you have a passion for taking on challenges that you would have previously sidestepped, many of which offer a path to measurable professional and personal success. Authentic leaders understand that leadership is about making your corner of the world better. Being committed to the cause of extending the gold standard by materially improving the current reality through others requires leaders to be unselfish and humble, which is another sign of leadership maturity and a key leadership trait we will explore in the next chapter. And then it starts a new chapter.
All right. So very interesting fact here. So a lot of you guys, hopefully all of you, have been through Creation Code. Now, you're going to find in Creation Code, we touch on it a little bit, just so you know, day 5 of every week is creation code, which is the freedom cycles. You're learning how to create cycles through his creation code, or the 7 days of creation, or 8 days of, as you listen to it, you learn that God gave us the example through the book of Genesis. Okay. Now here's my point. I love what they said. Impact that it has on others. Now, this is what the creation code talks about too. And maybe you missed it, or maybe it wasn't clear. Maybe I didn't go into it as much details because, again, these are short bites, these trainings. And if you ever want more in-depth training and apply it to your business, we can do it. Creation code absolutely can apply to your business, to your legacy, to your family, to whatever you want it to apply to. We can apply it and go by God's process. But in day 3, I believe it is, day 4, I think it is, where you're beginning to get organized and set up leaders, it talks about lights and their contribution to your creation, or to God's creation. He puts the lights in the heavens, and the brighter the lights, the greater the contribution. The sun, thus the moon, and even the stars in the sky. Okay, this is what I'm trying to tell you, that God's code, creation code, is lining up with what they're saying, that's how you choose leadership and recognize leadership is their impact on others, or impact on your specific creation. You create a business and you see people rising up and taking ownership of that creation, and also being great ambassadors for you, shining lots of light onto your creation. That's a good indicator they would make a great leader for your company. Are you following me? Just kind of putting a reference to it from our creation code to now what this book is saying. Impact it has on others. This is directly similar correlation. So you see it in real world conversation, but in creation code, it's there as well, about the lights and their brightness, their light shining on the creation. So anyways, just a little fun fact. So Eric, go ahead and give us a few more minutes here of reading and we'll close it out.
Yeah. All right. So starting the next chapter 6 is called Being Right is Overrated. And I'll start with the mantras that they have in the sidebar. Mantras for excellence. Being right is overrated. Being together is more important than being right. Good leaders only have to be right 51% of the time. It just has to be the right 51%. Let's do it your way. It doesn't matter if you're right or if you're right or if I'm right. Let's just get it right. We are all doing so much these days that it feels like we're trying to cram 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound sack. You can do the right thing in the wrong way or at the wrong time, and it can be worse than doing nothing at all. Chapter 6. Everybody wants their star to shine the brightest. Everybody wants to have the right answer every time. That's human nature. Sometimes leadership is about swimming against the tide. Mature leaders understand that being right is overrated. In fact, when you're a leader, if you're always right, you may end up hurting those around you and cause harm in your organization. If you're the one who's always right, over time you demoralize and demotivate those around you. Those whose ideas are never seriously considered or whose proposals don't regularly see the light of day feel invisible or believe they are pawns forced to pander to the ego of the person in charge. A person who may be the designated leader, but who does not fully grasp the seriousness or significance of their actions upon the lives of those under their direction. People have a tendency to believe in the reality in which they find themselves. Historically, we promote commercial cultures in which the boss was always right. In these legacy environments, subordinates look to them as the primary or sole generator of ideas, and typically under their breath they were saying, "What a chump, my ideas are so much better." When that's the case, even when you do have the best idea, it's never going to get implemented in an optimum fashion if those who must put it into action aren't inspired, even when the idea is the best approach. Someone once said, inspiration precedes perspiration. And I have learned that if you want to secure everyone's best effort, engage them at the ideation stage rather than at the implementation stage. Me being right constrains collaboration, dismisses others' ideas, limits creativity, breeds arrogance, puts others off, and makes me seem unapproachable. It creates a culture where my idea is best and yours is second best. Or worse, it makes your idea wrong. The smart leader realizes that there are times when being together is more important than being right.
Yeah.
Maybe you really do have the best idea most of the time. The following mantra originated from my late father-in-law, Don Ebert, who aptly summed up the reality of being the leader. Good leaders only have to be right 51% of the time. It just has to be the right 51%. Let's look at that in its full perspective. It may well be that the smoothest and fastest roads to results is to implement your idea, but wise leaders know when to go all in and use the capital their position has provided them, and when to sit out a hand and defer to others. In those instances, when someone else has voiced an idea that will also achieve the desired results, the sense of pride and contribution they may feel is more than worth it, even if their idea adds 2 steps, takes 2 more days, or costs $2 more. One of the most important 5-word phrases that every leader must learn is this: let's do it your way.
It's good.
Remember when I told you about the technology tours I ran in Europe when I was with RightSource? Well, success breeds success, and 6 city tours became 12 city tours, and each one took us further and further afield. I had brought only a few Americans with me to Europe, and we quickly needed to hire more help in the form of native language speakers and tour managers to plan and organize each roadshow that spanned multiple countries and venues. Early in our tenure in the Netherlands, we recruited a young Hollander, Cyril Blazer, to serve in the role of show producer. But as our business expanded, we needed another tour manager, and Cyril was the most experienced person at hand. I can't remember which tour it was, but I had told Cyril, I'm just going to call him Cyril because that's what it looks like.
There you go.
That he was going to be the tour manager and that he needed to come back to me with a plan as how he would staff and organize the tour. A couple of days later, Cyril presented a fairly detailed plan for the tour. I reviewed the plan and found it very different from the way that we had organized tours in the US, especially from a travel and logistics perspective. The crisscrossing of countries on a regular basis looked very inefficient to me. I told Cyril, I am not sure this is going to work. The plan you have concocted is completely different from the way in which we ran these tours in the US. I just don't see how this approach is practical. I can think of 2 or 3 better ways than I could organize these projects. Cyril replied, Toby, no disrespect, but you're not from Europe. This isn't like the United States. Europe is not 50 states with the same language, same culture, same customs, and same transportation systems. The presentations, venue, and catering will need to align with the culture, customs, and tastes of each location. And we need to sequence events according to the language that will be used in this presentation, not by the proximity of the venues to each other. The people I put on my team understand the fact that Europe is a collection of very diverse countries and environments, and they will make this work. I asked Cyril to let me sleep on his proposal. The next morning, I told him, I still don't know if you're right or not, but one thing I do know is that you seem absolutely convinced your plan will work. I've decided to let you run this tour your way, but you dadgum better be right. The end result was that the tour that Cyril organized was one of the most profitable we ever ran. My experience with Cyril and that tour taught me a lesson, a mantra that I've never forgotten. It doesn't matter if you're right or if I'm right. Let's just get it right.
That's good. It's really good. Is there a final thought after that? Or is that a good spot?
But that's the end of the paragraph.
Okay, good. All right. Let's just get it right. And let's do it your way. Super powerful. And men, I want you to hear me. Some of you had kids or you want kids. This is a powerful phrase. You're not any less a father if we empower our kids. And this goes back to when people take initiative, whether it's your wife or your children. When they take initiative, even to the extent of like, let's say you're painting a fence, right? And next thing you know, your 3-year-old boy is out there, 4-year-old son or daughter even, and they are making an absolute mess trying to help paint. It's all over the garden, all over the grass. It's everywhere. Okay. The initial thought is, what the heck were you thinking? Why are you doing this? You know, because there's a mess and you're like, don't do this. But guess what? They took initiative. And that's a beautiful quality you never, ever want to squelch. We've talked about this in the past, but some of you are new here. That's a rule of thumb. Somebody that you work with, that you're a leader with, if they take initiative, it took a lot of guts for them to step up and do that thing that they're afraid to do. Always praise them for taking initiative and doing something and getting something done, even if it's not the way you would have done it. And that's why I'm circling back to this phrase. Let's do it your way. If someone takes initiative to put together a plan for something, you're like, but I've done it this way, this way, this way, but they have a plan. Let's do it your way. It's a powerful process and a powerful thing to say and learn and then implement. It will empower your wife, it'll empower your children, it'll empower those who follow you, willing followers, disciples, if you want to call them that, or people you're mentoring, whether it's your children or friends or family members, or even employees in your business. Praise them for taking initiative. Thank them for taking initiative, no matter how bad it may be. Empower that initiative. It's a rare trait. Okay. And then when they bring you an idea, what do you got to lose? Try it their way. Let's try it your way. You took the time to take initiative, to create a plan. Let's do it your way. Just some thoughts, food for thought for you guys. Blessings in this beautiful week that you're about to embark on. Go out there and lead well. Lead by example, man. It's a powerful thing. Those who follow us will not do necessarily what we say. They'll do what we do. So what are you doing? Blessings. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, bro.